Gardening can be a lot of fun and super rewarding, but last year I made a few mistakes that made it much less enjoyable. So today I'm sharing those with you so you don't make the same mistakes I did. So last year was my second year as a grown-up adult gardening person, being totally in charge of my own garden with the help of my husband. And after a really successful first year, I was super pumped to get into year 2, but I did make several mistakes. So the first mistake I made was trying too many new things. Since the first year did go so well, growing some tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers, and I had a few different varieties of each one, I thought, okay, I'm just gonna go all in for year 2. I was ordering all kinds of plants that I had never grown before and several varieties of each one. So I had 3 kinds of beets, 3 kinds of carrots, I had collards and cauliflower and broccoli and cabbage, all these different kinds of beans and peas and all kinds of things I had never grown before and had no idea what I was doing. On top of that, we expanded the garden like, I want to say 4 times as big. I'm not really sure. It was a lot bigger. And then I also came up with this whole new garden layout. I was looking at permaculture stuff. I was trying to do all these keyhole beds like all around the garden and this weird blob thing in the middle with paths cutting in and out. And it was crazy. I was so lost and I thought that, oh, well, I'll just learn as I go, I can figure it out. But you can't do that when you have all of this stuff that you have no idea what you're doing. Just like I recommend with lifestyle change, building new healthy habits, trying new foods, all that kind of stuff, take it slow. Do one thing, then expand a little bit, then expand a little bit, take it in steps, because when you do all that stuff all at once, it's super overwhelming. You can't get a handle on it. And while there are the few rare exceptions who can really just dive in and grab it by the horns and go with it, I think for the most of us, it's a lot to expect to go from something small to something huge. If you bite off more than you can chew, it can really become a big problem and make your garden a lot less fun. The second mistake I made was that I didn't commit fully to my plan. So I'm trying to grow all these new plants. I really needed to get more grow lights, but I didn't want to do it. I, wasn't ahead enough to think about, oh, maybe I could build something. I didn't want to order a new set. It seemed too expensive. I thought, no, I can just work with what I have. So I had all these plants crammed in. I really wasn't able to start stuff, like as many things as I should have started indoors. I thought, oh, I can just plant some stuff outside in the ground. It'll be fine. No, that didn't work. And then also the plants that were under the lights were super crowded and cramped in there. The other way I didn't fully commit was that I wanted to do this whole mulching thing, but we had nowhere near enough mulch. So I was kind of doing it halfway, trying to use it where I thought was most important, and it just meant that it didn't really work. Another thing I didn't do is I really should have put borders around my little keyhole beds, but I didn't want to buy anything to border them or like any sort of wood or timbers or anything, because I was like, oh, that's more money we're spending. I've already bought all these seeds, we're doing all this work. I don't want to spend more money. But what ended up happening is that edges of the beds got blurred. It was really easy for the weeds to start to creep into the beds before I even realized it. And so by not committing with the borders, it just ended up creating more problems that way too. So if you're gonna do something, do it. Don't go halfway or try to cut corners, because in the end, it's really gonna end up hurting you and not saving you anything. The third mistake I made last year was doing more instead of doing better. So if you really like a certain plant, you might be tempted to grow more of those next year. And that's not necessarily a bad idea, especially if you wanna try different varieties. But before you go down that road, the question you really have to ask yourself is, am I getting the most I can possible out of the plants I already have? Could I have done more? Could I have cared for them better and really increased my yields from those individual plants? Because I know with me, I don't think that my plants were really producing as much as they could have if I had just paid more attention to them. And it's going to be a lot less work for you to just care for those plants a little bit better and really focus on them than to have to start more seeds, to have to put out more plants in the ground that are taking up more space in your garden. you're having to keep track of them, check them, all of this stuff. Why not just take that time and really care for a small number of plants rather than just trying to grow as many as possible? The third mistake I made is I didn't plan in enough detail. I mean, I had the whole garden mapped out and I had some rough dates in my head of when I wanted to do stuff, but what I really should have done is made a hard schedule and really put everything on the calendar and planned it out, because that's what's going to make sure that things happen. And a big problem I had last year was I felt like I was always trying to play catch up, or I was always behind, and that's not a good place to be in. And that was a big reason that my garden didn't do as well as it could have, because I was never in a place where I was just doing maintenance. I always felt like I was chasing something. The fifth mistake I made was not planning for travel. So the first year of the garden, we went on one trip. We went to the beach with Jason's family for like 10 days. And I mean, being away from the garden does, you know, cause a little bit of a hit, but if you're maintaining it and you're gone for one trip, it's not that big of a deal. Plus, my family was coming over here, taking care of the cats anyway, so I asked them if they could just keep an eye on things, pick stuff if it was ripe. Not a big problem. Last year, we went to the beach with Jason's family for a week. We went to the beach with my family for a week. Then we went to VidCon, which ended up being about a week of a trip when you add in getting there a day early and staying a day later, all that kind of stuff. And then we had 4 weddings. So that was 4 weekends over the course of the spring, summer, and early fall that we weren't home. And while all that stuff was a lot of fun, it was a total blast, and I wouldn't trade like vacations with our family or going to our friends and family's weddings for time in the garden, I just didn't plan for it. I didn't really think ahead, and like I knew that those things were there and I was aware of it, I guess, but it didn't go on the calendar, and I wasn't planning, okay, we're gonna be gone this week. What are we gonna do the week before to make sure that things are where they need to be? I just wasn't laying it out to that degree. And so that meant when we went on a trip, things were already not where I wanted them to be, and then they just got worse when we were gone. And then when we came back, we were scrambling to try to recoup everything, and then before you knew it, we were turning around and leaving again. So we were always kind of in this state of chaos. So those are the top 5 mistakes I made in my garden this past year. I hope you found this video helpful and you liked it, and let me know in the comments, what are you planning to grow this year? Whether you're doing some herbs on your windowsill, or you have some containers, or if you're doing a whole huge spread, let me know, because I always like to hear what everyone is growing. And if you are new to my channel and you want more healthy eating tips and nutrition info and healthy recipes, make sure that you subscribe, because eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle really doesn't have to be complicated, and I want to show you how to do it. And if you're loving the free info here, but you're finding that you need something more personalized, don't forget that I do offer one-on-one nutrition sessions. So if you are interested in that, just let me know and we can get that set up for you. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.